Okay, graphing part 2 today. So last time we introduced how to start setting up graphing a quadratic. Today we're going to put it all together and actually get the picture of our parabola on the graph. So let's recall what we learned last time. Last time we looked at a quadratic, we found the equation for the axis of symmetry and the coordinates of the vertex. Let's remind ourselves how we did that. Okay, axis of symmetry, that's a formula. Remember, it's x equals, because it's a vertical line, and it's opposite of b over 2a. To find the vertex is an ordered pair. The x value of the vertex, guys, remember, that was just whatever number you get for the AOS. That's the x value of the vertex. So it's that negative b over 2a number. And then to get the y value of the vertex, you just plug in this x value to get the y that goes with it. So we're going to say plug in x for the y. Okay, so if I analyze this quadratic right here, and I thought about what's a, what's b, what's c, when I compared it to the general form, the a is the number that sits in front of the x squared. In this case, it's just a 1. The b is what sits in front of x, so this case is a 6. And the c is the constant at the end, which is 11. So if I plug it into my formula, that's x equals the opposite of b. b is positive 6, so I want negative 6 over 2 times a. That's negative 6 over 2, which is negative 3. So put it all together. Don't forget the x equals part, because that tells me it's a vertical line. The axis of symmetry is x equals negative 3. The vertex, so take your negative 3 number, carry it over. It's the x value now. And to find the y value that goes with it, I'm just going to plug in negative 3 in both x's up in my function that I started with. Do not forget the parentheses. You will get the wrong answer if you plug this into your calculator without parentheses. Okay, and I get 2. Okay, that's what we did last time. Honestly, guys, that's the hard part out of the way. This is like the complicated new part, I think, to comprehend. Today, finishing it is so much quicker than what we did last time, which is really nice. So let's take the next step then and actually finish, yay, graphing this thing. So the first thing is get my picture going. I want to get these two pieces of information on the graph. So let's put the axis of symmetry on here. The line x equals negative 3. Again, x means it's a vertical line. So if I find negative 3 on the x-axis, right here, that's the vertical line through that point. And I'm going to use a different color just to make it stand out. I mentioned this last time too. We always do it like a dashed line just to kind of differentiate it from the parabola. So you'll see it drawn like that a lot. That's my axis of symmetry, my AOS. I can also plot the vertex on the graph. So just plot that point, negative 3, 2. It has to be on the pink line, the axis of symmetry. Negative 3. So there it is right there. That's my vertex. I'll go ahead and label it just for fun. I know that this is a u. It's not an upside down u because it's a positive 1 in front of the x squared. So that means the vertex is a minimum. It's a good thing to think about. It's like the lowest point on the graph. So I know it's a u shape, something like that from here. But I can't just guess once I have that information on. I have to be specific, and I have to like actually get more points. Because guys, the u could be like really skinny, or it could be like super fat. I just don't know. To be accurate, you make a table to get some other points on there, then you can draw your u. Okay, so here's where we're taking it one step further from what we did yesterday. We're going to make a table, and we're going to take the vertex, and we're going to put the vertex in the middle of the table. The vertex is like the middle of your u. There's points this way, there's points this way. So since it's the middle of the u, we need it to sit in the middle of our table. That's the first big idea for today. When you make your table, your vertex has to sit right in the middle. The reason tables worked first semester when we did -2, -1, 0, 1, 2 is because the vertex was always 0 something. We as teachers picked nice parabolas that had the vertex like right in the middle for you. These are no longer nice, so we have to kind of like figure out what our tables are going to look like now. So the vertex on this one was -3, 2. I put that in the middle of my new table. Ugh, that looks awful, but that's a -3. I have to rewrite that. It's going to drive me crazy. There we go. Okay, so now what I have to do is I have to pick x values around the -3. So guys, you need to do two numbers smaller than -3 so I can see what does it look like right to the left of the vertex. And I want to figure out what does it look like right to the right. So I need to pick the x values around the vertex. So the two that are smaller would be -4 and -5. So I'm going to plug these guys in so I know what it looks like here. And I'm going to plug the 2 in the right end, so that would be -2 and -1. So that part's kind of weird, but plug in numbers around the vertex, all the x values. Now the rest of it should be easy though, because I'm going to use my calculator, and I'm going to plug in -5 for x. Ooh, and let me cheat. Yeah, let me go right back to where I plugged in -3. So if I just go over this, when I plug in -5, I get 6. -4, I get 3. When I plug in -2, I get 3. And then plugging in -1, I'm going to get 6. Okay, almost done. Let's step back and notice something about what just happened with the y values. Notice that one step above the vertex is the same as one step below the vertex. Here's what I'm talking about. Here's the vertex, the y values. So one above the vertex was 3, one below the vertex was 3. Those are the same. The same thing happened with 2 steps above the vertex and 2 steps below the vertex. Both of these guys were 6. If you do your U correctly, this always happens because of the symmetry going on in your parabola, which we talked about last time. So let's plot the points and make sure this does look symmetrical and look like a nice U. If I get -5, 6 on my graph, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oop, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's right there. -4, 3. -2, 3, and those points should be on the same horizontal line, so that way they're symmetrical. That makes sense. Same thing with -1, 6. So these points should mirror each other. So this looks perfect. There's my U, and yay, I'm done. That's it. So guys, all you have to practice today is getting the axis of symmetry on your graph and then making the correct table. That's it, and you should get a good U every time. So I'm going to do one more. I'll do the whole process at the same time, and then you're going to try one. Okay, so you guys are going to do number 2. Here's the whole thing put together, what we did yesterday and today for number 1. Okay, so first things first. Got to do what I learned yesterday, and I got to find the axis of symmetry. Okay, let's find that guy first. So I know that's going to be x equals, and then I use my formula. Let's remind us what it is over here. Maybe if you want to go in and say a, b, and c first, that couldn't hurt. So a is what sits in front of x squared. It's -1 here. B sits in front of x. C is the constant. Okay, so the opposite of b. B is a +8, so I want -8. Over 2 times a, which is -1. That would be 4. Okay, so the axis of symmetry is x equals +4. I'm going to go ahead and get that on the graph while I'm at it. So go on the x-axis, find 4, which is right there. It's a vertical line through that point. That's my axis of symmetry. My line that cuts my U in half. I know this one's an upside down U. That's a good thing to think about, just because there's a negative in front of the x squared. So I know it's like that. But obviously I got to find where the vertex lies on this line. So let's find that. Vertex is an ordered pair. You know the x value of the vertex with the axis of symmetry number. You know you got to go right 4. You just don't know where the y value is of your vertex. So you got to find it. Plug in 4 where x is. Be careful because of the negative in front. Okay, so when you plug in 4 here, that negative is going to sit outside your parentheses. When you plug a number in, you literally just remove x and you put in its place 4 in parentheses. So when I plug this into my calculator, I got to do it like this, with that original negative sitting outside the parentheses. Be careful on that part. Okay, so I get 7 for the y value. So I'm going to go ahead and plot that point, 4, 7, right at the top. So that's my vertex. It's a maximum point, the highest point on the graph. I know it's going to be an upside down U. I just don't know like how fat or skinny it is, and I want to be like accurate with the rest of my points. So that's where today's stuff comes in. Make your table. So I did like number 1, that's what we did yesterday. Number 2, this is the new stuff for today. So you're still going to make a table. The difference is in the middle of your table, you've got to put your vertex. Okay, don't put 0, don't do -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. You will not get a nice U picture. 4, 7 needs to go in the middle. Then choose your x values strategically around that x value of 4. You want to pick 2 numbers smaller, so 3, 2, and you want to pick 2 numbers bigger, 5, 6. So you get the picture of exactly what the U looks like to the left of the vertex and exactly what it looks like to the right of the vertex. Okay, so I'm just going to plug in. I'm going to cheat in my calculator here. It's not really cheating, just being smart. And I'm going to plug in 2. And I get 3. Thinking about what I mentioned down here with like the 1 step away from the vertex being the same, 2 steps being the same, I should have what 6 is, 2 steps away from the vertex. So let me just double check. So if I plug in 6, it should be the same, and yep, it is. Those should both be 3. So if you're super confident in your skills, save yourself a step. You don't even have to plug those guys in. If you want to check that you did it right, you can do what I just did. But if you're confident, you know that those should both be 3 because of the symmetry. Same thing with 3 and 5. So when I plug in 3, I get 6. 1 step below the vertex, that should be the same. So let me just check myself and plug 5 in. But it should be 6, and it is. Okay, so the last step is just to get those other 4 points on the graph, and then you can draw your U. So 2, 3, that ordered pair. 3, 6. 5, 6, and 6, 3. There she is. All right, you guys try number 2, and that's graphing quadratics.